Find a comfortable position and focus on your breathing. As you inhale, you're bringing in new life, new existence into your body, so that the spirit can remain functioning inside the mind, inside the heart. And as you exhale, you're releasing the energy that your body has used in order to maintain your existence, in order to give you life. And so tune into this rhythm, tune into this cycle of nature that is the basis of our experience here on this planet. Every time we breathe, we're communicating with the universe, we're communicating with the collective. So become aware of your source of existence, your source of life. This cycle underlies all of our activities. Our thoughts are linked to the cycle of our breathing. Our speech is linked to the cycle of our breathing. And our actions and the function of our organs are all linked to this basic cycle of life, this fundamental interaction between the collective universe that contains within all kinds of beings, different shapes and sizes, different spiritual levels, different levels of understanding and experience and awareness. And this unlimited source is interacting with the created, the creature, the individual that's receiving life, that's perceiving life from within. And so each time we breathe, we're communicating with the collective, we're communicating with the source of our existence, the source of all existence, the force that allows everything that exists to receive existence, to receive life, to receive reality. As we bring our attention to this cycle, we're tuning in to a reality that's always true, a reality that's always in the background, always happening, even though our attention is elsewhere, our attention is busy with the senses, our attention is busy with what's taking place outside of us, or what's not taking place anywhere except in our own imagination. So now we're bringing it inside of ourselves, and we're making it aware of this fundamental reality, this interaction that we constantly have with our environment in order to remain alive, in order to continue existence. Within this cycle, within the breathing cycle, is the process of how we conceive thoughts. And so as we breathe in, we're giving oxygen to our lungs, which then gets inserted into the blood. And once it comes to the brain, we can think, we can create concept within that blood, within that fresh oxygen that we breathe in. And so this oxygen, this air, has a specific quality. Each breath has its own quality, has its own way, has its own settings. And this distinction is so meaningful that the reason different countries have human beings that look different and think different and feel different is primarily because of the difference in the air in each location on the globe, whether it's wet or dry, cold or hot, or the different types of subtle qualities that we can't even measure or even consider that affect the nature of what that land, what that area is going to produce, and how that air, how that oxygen is going to interact with the formula that creates the human body, with that intelligence that we are, that creates our body out of the food that we eat and the air that we breathe. And so become aware of this basic interaction, which connects you to all the celestial beings, to all the planets, to all the stars that surround us. They all, the radiance that shines from them affects the quality of the air that we breathe, and it affects the experience that our brain is going to have as it interacts with that air. So allow yourself to become still enough to tune in to this underlying truth, underlying reality, a reality that's been true from the moment you were born, from the moment you took your first breath. Ever since then, you've been continuously breathing in order to allow yourself to continuously think and create the reality within your perception. So this underlying nature of how we think and how we interact with life is what drives everything else that takes place in our lives. This is the fundamental building block from which we all build our lives. One breath and another breath. Each time we gain life for just a few more moments. And then we do it again. And then we have a few more moments to live. And then we breathe again. And so each time we're taking in a unit of time and we convert it into spirit. We convert it into experience. We convert it into a thought. And then we receive another unit of time. And that's the infinite power of the one who created life, where he lacks no materials. Everything created in such perfection that all the angles come together to create the human experience, to create all the details that together we call life. So tune in to the quiet side of life, tune into the subtle reality of life, where the ignorance of the people cannot contaminate. The wisdom of the Creator is the only one that has access to these subtle realities. And so when we perceive these subtle realities, we can directly be inspired by the wisdom of the one who designed us, the one who created us. His wisdom is our only source of security. The more we know He's wise, the more we can feel secure existing in a reality designed solely by Him. And so when we look at the world of the senses, we find that it's been contaminated by human ignorance. And so we want to go deeper, we want to go to the more subtle side of life, where human ignorance has no influence. And so there we can see the pristine wisdom, the perfect design of the Master of the universe, the force that had the power, had the intelligence to make what is be. And so when we tune into our breath, we're tuning into our soul, we're tuning into the fundamental nature of our experience. And in this fundamental nature of our experience, we find a deeper vision, a deeper perspective, where the wisdom of the Creator becomes so overwhelmingly evident that it's undeniable. And that gives us security. That allows us to trust the forces that be, that were placed in this order for this purpose, so that we can have our experience, by the very one who conceived life itself. So we tune into our breathing, we tune into our deeper intelligence, to the basic nature of life, to the simplicity, so we can see the wisdom of the Creator, so we can find security, knowing that the one who created life is powerful and intelligent in ways that the human imagination cannot even ponder. So in order to make our imagination realize the intelligence that it's interacting with, so we have to simplify its vision, simplify the view of how it sees life, so that it can realize the true nature of the experience, so that it doesn't get overwhelmed by the details to the extent that it doesn't realize what's taking place. So coming back to our breathing, we come back to the simplicity, we come back to the wisdom that sustains life, we come back to feeling secure, knowing that the world is in the right hands, the hands that first created it, and therefore we want to assist those hands. We want to give our effort to make this world better, to help the Creator achieve a world that He conceived, that He designed, that pleases Him exactly in the way that it was created to be. So we come back to that simplicity, we come back to the realization of the wisdom that creates life. And then we can feel secure. And when we feel secure, then we can finally be ourselves. And that's the ultimate goal, is for us to be ourselves, for us to be the one that was created by the Creator of the universe, by the designer of life itself. So by finding security in His wisdom, we won't need outside approval, we won't build our confidence on external sources. And then we can be ourselves, then we can recognize the nature of our own experience, the nature of this interaction that we're having with something so magnificent, something so real, something so powerful that the human mind can't see it. It's so big, it's so powerful that the human imagination can't imagine it. And therefore, even though it knows that something must be behind all this, because it can't draw an image, because it's too big for the human mind to ponder, the human mind sometimes feels alone. The human mind feels like what's happening in life was not specifically designed to be this way. It just became this way somehow. And this can be said for the behaviors. The behaviors are ours. The behaviors are what we came up with. And so behaviors are not necessarily in line with the original intent of life. But the creation itself, the nature of who we are, the nature of our bodies, the nature of our brains, our hearts, the nature of the animals and the plants, all these are designed to perfection by the ultimate designer, by the only one who could have designed any of it. And so when we come back to that nature, when we come back to our breath, when we come back to the reality of how we sustain our life force, we're coming back to the way the Creator perceives life, the way the Creator designed life to be. This is not a behavior. Breathing is not a behavior. Breathing is what the Creator designed for us. This is His vision. This is His understanding of how He wants to communicate to us who we are and what it means to be us. This is the language of nature. And all these things have meanings, have explanations that go level upon level, deep and even deeper, because it's nature itself, it's the wisdom of nature that made it such. It's the language of intelligence that created our brains and the intelligence within our brains. And so that intelligence is far superior to the intelligence that we currently have access to. And so by returning to seeing life from the perspective of that intelligence, we can gain more access to that intelligence. We can align ourselves with the vision of that intelligence. We could align our intelligence with the principles that created it. And therefore, our intelligence will be able to understand things that are beyond its level of existence, beyond its level of control. But through the intelligence, through the understanding, it can understand the bigger reality. It can understand the collective and how life manifests from the original source, from the unity that is beyond contemplation. So come back to your breathing, come back to the simplicity of existence, and try to realize the wisdom that created you, so that you can find comfort, so that you can rely on that wisdom to ultimately appease you, to make your struggle worthwhile, to make your existence meaningful in a way that gives you permanent fulfillment. So trust that wisdom to know your nature, since it created you, and to know how to appease you, how to ultimately guide you to a place where it's going to be obvious to you how precious you are, how important you are to life itself, and how everything throughout your journey had a deeper meaning, had a spiritual root that caused it to be specifically that way, that caused things that might seem unexplainable to take place in a way that was required in order for you to attain your perfection. So come back to your breath, come back to the wisdom of life, come back to the realization how little we know and how vast and deep and brilliant reality truly is, and allow yourself to find peace in that realization.